Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is finally here after nearly 2 years of waiting. Game of Thrones is finally back for the final time on our TV screens. And today we're going to review that first episode. Now, before I get into this, I just want to say I'll be breaking down each bit by bit. So, it goes without saying, but spoilers. Spoilers. If you've not seen the episode yet, don't watch this video. Go away, come back, and while you're here, feel free to like and subscribe to the channel. It would really mean a lot. But yeah, spoilers. Right here, you've been warned. I will be spoiling every single thing in this episode as I break it down, think what I thought of it, and did I like it or did I not like it before giving it an overall grade. So you have been warned, but let's get into it. So the episode starts off with Jon and Daenerys arriving in Winterfell with the massive army of Dothraki and the Unsullied, and of course those two massive dragons. And they all meet up for the first time. Jon's finally reunited with Bran, and that's a nice sweet little moment. Sansa and Daenerys, well, they're not big fans of each other. Basically, the people of the North aren't a big fan of Jon Snow right now because he was hired King of the North, he's gone away, he's come back and he's surrendered his crown and given it to Daenerys. So the North ain't very happy about it, and it's quite tense. You get Lyanna Mormont. She has a little bit of a moment as well. Actually, I'm wondering, is Jorah and Lyanna going to meet up at some point? That'll be quite interesting to see. But yeah, things ain't doing good. Sansa and Daenerys are a bit at odds with each other. That might lead to some division later down the line. But speaking of reunions, the big busy bee of this week was Arya Stark, our favourite tomboy of the show. She had 3 little reunions to get on with here. First of all, Jon Snow, of course. A big highlight of the episode was her reuniting with Jon Snow after all these years. They've not been on screen together since episode 1 of season 1. That is how long this has been, and everyone's been waiting for this moment. And this moment was a lot more satisfying than her reunion with Nymeria. Speaking of which, Nymeria and Ghost, I have a feeling that we're never going to see you guys again. So, Direwolves, we love you. But I don't think we're going to see much of you guys anymore, which is a shame, because remember how important those Direwolves used to be? Now, of course, Arya meets up with the Hound and Gendry, and obviously with the Hound, last time Arya saw him, she left him for dead. And he confronts her about that, and they both have this intense stare-off, but there was a mutual respect between them. The Hound literally calls her a bitch, chuckles, and says, yeah, that's why you're still alive. I think the Hound does have affection for Arya. I think he does care about her, but these two have been enemies for so long, and they have different views of world that I think they're not going to admit it, but they both have respect for each other. As for Gendry, last time you saw Gendry was when Melisandre took him away from Arya, and Melisandre said, we will meet again. So I'm hoping we get Melisandre eventually, because she's obviously gone overseas now, but I hope she's back before the end of the season. But it was nice in Arya and Gendry together again. They might get together, but it's not heavy-handed or anything. It might be a friendship, might be a romance. Who knows? Either way, I'm cool with it. I loved Arya's reunions in this episode. It was really well done. Moving to some of the other characters. Tyrion has a reunion with Sansa, and they've not seen each other since the infamous Joffrey wedding. So that one was an interesting reunion because obviously Sansa's changed a lot, and Tyrion, he's a bit awkward. He's surrounded by all these big characters now, and Tyrion's kind of watered down in this episode, which I wasn't really too much of a fan of. And Sansa literally gloats at Tyrion, saying that you've lost your mojo, you actually believe your sister, I used to think you're the smartest man I ever met. So it's an interesting take on these two because they don't hate each other, they just have this tense relationship, which is obviously brought on by circumstance, but Sansa knows Tyrion cares about her, and Sansa admires Tyrion, but I feel like she's lost a bit of the admiration for Tyrion. Honestly, Tyrion spends most of the episode either ripping into Varys and Davos, or spending it with Sansa. There's not a whole lot Tyrion really does in this episode. As for Jon and Daenerys, they are a couple now. I'm not really a big fan of the ship, to say so the least. And they have this amazing dragonflight scene. Remember when Daenerys first got on the back of Drogon and flew out of that Colosseum, and how much of a big moment that was? And this isn't played very well at all. Daenerys just says to Jon, hey, get on the other dragon, get on Rhaegal. I'm sorry, but it just felt cheap. It was a nice little sequence, don't get me wrong, but it just felt a bit forced. And the bit at the end where the dragon's staring at them two making out, is a bit cringy. There's a war going off, guys, and you have time for this comedic, tense stuff between Jon and the dragons. Now, I will say, Jon, if the woman you're banging has dragons staring at you like they want to rip your head off, I would advise not making out with their mother right in front of him. That might pee him off just a little bit. There is also the Greyjoys who are back in this now. At the end of the last season, we obviously saw Theon was going to save Yara with his crewmates after earning their respect after being kicked in his non-existent dick several times. That scene is glossed over. Yara is saved by Theon, and Theon wants to go back to Winterfell. Yara wants to go back to the Iron Islands to defend and Kissing to retreat, but Theon's heart is set on Winterfell, and these two have such a sweet moment. It's kind of rushed, this moment, which I really didn't like because it was such a tender moment. I think Theon's definitely dead. I feel like he's going to go down in the blaze of glory protecting one of the Starks, and he has had probably the second biggest redemption arc, second to maybe Jaime Lannister, but honestly, this was probably the most touching scene in the episode, maybe tied with Jon and Arya reuniting, but really good moment between the two. Sam Tarly is back in this. He meets up with Daenerys, who is thanking him for obviously saving Jorah's life by doing the little kebab thing that led to so many memes, and Daenerys casually mentions to Sam that she kind of burned his dad and brother. And I'm not going to lie, the actor who plays Sam, I forget his name, can't name off the top of my head. I'm going to put his name over here. Sorry, dude. But the acting in this moment, like, he's trying to be respectful to Daenerys, but oh my god, you could tell he's upset, he's mad. Even as much as a dick his father was to him, it's still his dad at the end of the day, and it was a really powerful scene. So Sam also does one more big thing in this episode. He breaks the news to Jon that he is Aegon Targaryen. Who is anyone going to call him Aegon? Like, seriously, is anyone calling Jon Aegon now? Nah, he's Jon Snow always, is our boy. But yeah, he tells Jon, he takes the news he's banging his arm pretty well, but I don't think he's taking the fact that he's the rightful heir to the Seven Kingdoms really well. That's going to be a very interesting dynamic, and we've only got 5 episodes left after this. This is going to be very interesting how much they cram all this stuff in. Also, I feel like they could stretch a few things out, personally, from this episode. Like, it is very much a build-up episode, but I do feel like they could have spent a bit more time developing people, because we didn't get any of Grey Worm, Brienne of Tarth, nope, Podrick, nope, Missandei, didn't get none of her. Even Jaime Lannister, we don't see him until the very end of this episode. He arrives in Winterfell and locks eyes with Bran, who spends the entire episode being creepy as hell. And this is the first time these two have met since that push out the window. This is the first time they've met. That's a really good moment. I'm interested to see on where that one goes. As for Euron Greyjoy and Cersei's become a bit weird. Literally, she finds out that the wall's been broken down, the Whites have come through. She says good, walks off. Euron brings a fleet featuring the Golden Army, which is disappointingly lacking elephants, according to Cersei. And anyway, Cersei drops a one-line on Euron, saying, "You want a whore, buy her. You want a queen, earn her." Right, good, Cersei, you go, oh no. Yeah, she bangs him anyway, regardless, because I feel like she thinks she has to, which is fair enough, but after dropping that line, it's like, I'm not going to take the bed so easy to jump from that to, yeah, we banged, and they had to literally emphasise that they did bang by Euron asking, how did I compare to the Kingslayer and to your late husband, that kind of stuff. Euron's become a bit arrogant. I feel like he could have been a more developed antagonist in this series, but now he's just sort of like this horny fuckboy, basically. That's basically what his character has become. He's definitely not lasted through season. I have a gut feeling that Robert Strong, the Mountain, is going to kill him because they have a great stare down towards the end. The only big thing I know that happens in this episode is that Tormund, Dolores, Ed, and Beric Dondarrion meet up at the Umber house, where they find the Lord Umber strung up in a classic White Walker sign, and the thing tries to attack him, and they burn it, and all kinds of free. So it's good to see that our big name characters that were at the wall, they are still alive and kicking, and they're chasing after the White Walkers. It's a little hint of how dangerous White Walkers are, because they're dead, they come back to life, and they want to rip your damn head off. I mean, it is a slow building episode. Overall, Game of Thrones has been gone for quite a while now, and it was good to bring all these characters back together. It's weird seeing everyone's in one place for the first time in season 1, really. You only really have about 4 or 5 characters down in King's Landing. The rest are all in Winterfell. It's all these survivors coming together as one. We have a lot of main characters in this just fighting for screen time in this episode. In terms of a Game of Thrones episode, I feel like it needed a bit more meat on the bones, because for a season that's only 6 episodes long, it is a bit of a short and quiet episode considering what we know is coming. Now, granted, I expect the first big battle to happen around episode 3. I thought it was going to be a bit more build-up, a bit more tension, because where we stand now, Jon knows he's a Targaryen now, and there's already tension between the Northmen and the foreign invaders. Well, not invaders, but their new overlords run by Daenerys. There's tension there, and I feel like that might come to a head right before the White Walkers attack. I feel like the Winterfell will fall in a devastating attack because there's so much infighting, friction between the living side. Honestly, the high point of the episode for me was either Jon and Arya's reunion or the Yara and Theon scene, because those 2 scenes were emotional, especially the latter one with the Greyjoys. They've gone through a lot, them guys, and those were definitely 2 of the high points for me. The low point of the episode, it definitely had to be this cringe-worthy make-out in front of the dragon scene. It just didn't feel needed. It felt a bit hammy, felt a bit cheesy. Felt like it was there for the memes, basically, especially as there's a last shot before a commercial break was Drogon smiling, and it really did bug me a little bit. But Game of Thrones is back, guys, and I will say this episode is not going to be on my top 20 list that I'm going to do at the end of the season, because I'm going to rank 20 top episodes of Game of Thrones. But it's not the worst. It's a standard episode 1. It's a big setup episode, and it sets some things in motion for conflict and tension. It's not just going to be battle heavy this entire season. So overall, I'm going to say that this episode needed a bit more sugar. But anyway, guys, Game of Thrones, are we happy to see it back? What was your highlight of the episode? And who do you expect to see on the throne at the end of all this? Like I said, if you have stopped by, if you do like the video, feel free to like it and subscribe. It really helps me a lot. And see some of my other content over here. I intend to get my Pet Sematary review out in a couple of days, as well as a bunch of films I need to see, including Hellboy and just a few other films, like the new Leica film, that's the name I've forgotten, but I'm getting to it. I will get around to these videos. I'll get them up more often, guys, I promise. But until then, guys, it's great to be back in the north. This is that Spikehead podcast, signing off.